Today we will talk about XDC again, and this really interesting chart I found from Rohitku whatever ISO 222. Unfortunately, this guy's kind of notorious for not including where this information actually came from, but it goes very much in line with the XDC overview I put out yesterday as well. And I actually had a intro for this, but my app on my phone won't connect, and I've been screwing around with it for about half an hour, and I'm just over it. So I'll have to invest some time in that. But the main point was that this is partially involved in covering a $1.7 trillion dollar market that has a gap in supply and demand for trade finance. So this today talks primarily about this part of the map here with Tradeteq and how it's involved. So this whole thing is revolving around XDC as a liquidity provider in the financing part of this trade finance map, and it goes from the actual liquidity from a custodian into this financing part, into the compliance part, and then into the documentation part, meeting the requirements for the model law of something. That was what we talked about yesterday. It is the model law on electronic transferable records, and this is the UN part of it that I was talking about on the map, which is shown United Nations somewhere on here. I'm not finding it, but that's okay. We will, oh yeah, it was here. So we will move on and actually explain this. So XDC as a liquidity provider is probably the main point of all of this, just because we are talking about what XDC can actually do, how it works, and what it is currently being used for as well. So on the XDC Trade Network site, there is a liquidity providers part of their site that talks about institutional investors, family office, or an accredited fund interested in trade finance. They have this part of that market taken care of. So they are concentrating on DLT in the shipping and cargo space that has a trade document with proof of authenticity and origins, enabling a more seamless and efficient flow of goods between digitally interconnected trading partners, such as receipts, invoices, bills of lading, insurance certificates, certificates of origin, packing list, and customs and goods declarations as well. These will all be MLETR compliant, which is what a lot of these trade heavy countries are actually migrating to. So I will expand upon this a lot more. I have gotten involved with trying to sell on Amazon in the past, and that was just, in all honesty, it was a waste of money. It's only worth it if you have probably about 100K to just invest in it up front without, and you're okay with it taking a very long time to actually earn itself back and earn a profit as well. So I've been really interested in this trade finance part of XDC just because I do have some personal exposure with a lot of this. So I found, so on this map, We begin with Propine, which is a regulated digital custodian. Well, I found this announcement on the Propine site that's from 2022, and it's announcing its partnership with Zinfin, which is on the XDC ecosystem, and they are creating this to take care of challenges in international trade finance tokenization. So if you poke around on their site, they are digital a digital assets custodian. You can see that they're in it with R3, Global Digital Finance, Singapore as well, which has a lot of tie-ins with XDC, and then IBM as well. I think that's a thing that I'll have to investigate a bit more because of their Hyperledger and WorldWire infrastructure that easily ties this to XRP and XLM as well. And then if you look into the clients and the financial institutions page, it is concentrating on providing custody services for more traditional industries that aren't really familiar with crypto at this point. So if we come back to this, we can concentrate on XDC as a liquidity provider for importers and exporters. And I found this article on the XDC site. XDC partners with Singapore's IMDA, and it launches a network to finance MLETR compliant trade. It's from 2023. So it is talking about the XDC Trade Network, which is the site that we were on earlier. And it's just explaining how it is a suite of decentralized applications built on the XDC platform that enables users to issue digitally signed, verifiable trade documents compliant with MLETR as well. It aims to simplify cross-border trade by enabling interoperability and traceability across different trade platforms and formats. So last night I was talking about trade lens that I poked into over here, and that involved XDC and XLM and IBM, which then ties into XRP and a lot of other things, but that was officially shut down about a year ago. But this information makes me think that it didn't really ever get killed off as an idea. It just changed. So we'll move into the actual real article here, which is on this page. So it's it's an expansion of that. The initiative comes amid growing global legal acceptance of electronic trade documents. In 2021, the first ever cross-border digital trade financing pilot between two MLETR compliant jurisdictions carried out using the IMDA's trade trust framework. And I believe, and the ISDA is the International Swaps and Derivatives Association, which XRP is 100% involved in now. But I thought it was really interesting here because it is talking about the tokenization of assets. So if you look into these two links here, we have Tradeteq partners with Zinfin in the first trade finance NFT transaction. And this is where I found that $1.7 trillion number. It was in a link somewhere in here, but this is just explaining why XDC is being used. It is much more efficient, and it is much more energy efficient as well compared to Ethereum. And I'm really interested in tokenizing real world assets because that's how assets will be represented on blockchains, and that's where the actual value will come. So trade trust is in this compliance and data verification part, and that tied in with trade trust there. But if you look at this one, we've got Tradeteq launches trade financed backed tokens on XDC. And this is where I found that this lack of secondary trading market has left many corporations underserved when it comes to funding, contributing to a trade finance gap, the shortfall between supply and demand of an estimated 1.7 trillion. So this is aiming to overcome this by fractionalizing and tokenizing pools of repackaged, securitized trade finance assets on the XDC network and making them available to retail investors, which as low as 104 USD to invest. It'll expect about a 5% APY. So that's really interesting because it is concentrating on a niche market within the trade finance industry that XDC is already involved in as of now, which is a $19 trillion dollar industry right now. So then we move into this documentation layer, and this part is where the trade really comes in to this finance part. The finance part of it, which is operating with the liquidity on XDC from this institutional digital custodian. This comes down through the quote unquote IT part, and the actual legal requirements for the actual trade itself happen here. And I saw this Yoda Plus DocuTrade logo down here, so I looked into that, and that is a company out of India that is transforming trade finance with MLETR compliant documentation. So in August of 2023, a IT firm in Mumbai proudly unveils its revolutionary MLETR compliant documentation solution developed in collaboration with the XDC Trade Network and open attestation. It promises to reshape the landscape of global trade. And then if you look into the actual company, the alliance with the XDC Trade Network enhances Yoda Plus's offering. Together, they aim to bridge the trade finance gap, which is valued at over 2 trillion now in 2023. So it isn't a product. Well, yeah, it is a product. But they are just bringing their trade finance experience onto the XDC chain. So if you look at the actual site, you can find that the key features of this are digital document management, SME empowerment, and interoperability with And with XDC, you automatically have that. It is hooked up on the EVM, which then opens it up into everything else. There was some involvement with IBM here as well, which can then directly or indirectly expose it to XLM and XRP as well. So if you look at the actual workflow of how it works, it goes from either the carrier and or the actual seller to create the MLTER information. Then you choose what you actually have to have. It'll complete this in a way that that translates it into an MLETR compliant document. It creates a token registry, and then it does more with the documentation. But as it gets to the actual seller, and the transfer of ownership in between the buyer, you are verifying it's right, and then the transaction is actually done. So as we can see, this opens up a lot of pathways for XDC with its smart contract capabilities as well. If you just poke around on here, trade relationships, efficiency boosts, it is secure as well, eco-friendly. I mean, that's not exactly my thing, but it is a lot more energy efficient. But most of all, in order for any of this to work at all, it has to be compliant as well. Check out the partnerships. XDC is one of the big ones. Well, it is the big one, I guess. So I thought that this right here was a really interesting find and a very good way to expand on the $19 trillion trade finance market that XDC is involved with, and provide an example of how XDC is still in the trade finance industry right now.